But anyways, they talked about, and they said, well, regularly the assessments have been, right around 80% of, what you could sell it for. And he gets talking, he's like, and then it's going up and you're getting closer and closer to, what you could sell it for. And I said, well, statutorily, we're required to be at 100% of what you can sell it for. And he kind of was like, and I'm like, yeah, that's what we're supposed to be at. Now,
and our ratio for this year, it's 80%, according to the Department of Revenue. We were down to 74 last year. Yeah. Yeah, I was waiting for the market to catch up to me before having to do any big jumps. And a market is slowing down, but we're not seeing a lot of decreases. That's the problem, is, I actually went to my update here with the commissioners, and the commissioner kind of jumped on me, and it's like, I'm not creating the market. That's a separate profession. You might want to talk to them. I may have looked at another commissioner who had his head down. So, we don't make the market. I don't like to do big jumps, but we had to do something this year.
Okay, let's get started. Do we want to do our process, or do we want to get them in now?
I put them first, so that
Okay.
way.
All right. Okay, so basically, this is a question that we've had, and I just want to talk about it, because here's what we get, and then it's kind of glossed over as they explain it to us. What does the red mean?
it's a negative value. So let me run through, if you don't mind, and maybe I'll hit a lot of your questions.
And for the record, it wasn't any of these specifically.
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to touch on each of them for you to give you a better idea of how it works. So what we're looking at here, how I like to explain it to people is, when we do our assessments, when we look at the sales and we make our adjustments, we are comparing apples to apples for homes. So we're not comparing manufactured homes to stick-built homes. We're not comparing, we try and split up 1-story and 2-story unless the ratio is showing. And by ratio, I mean the difference between the base cost approach to value and what the property sold for. And that gives us a percentage difference, and it gives us an idea of where we need to move. Now, how we weed that down to figuring out what are the best sales and what area each should be grouped in are those percentages. If you've got our base cost, because when our appraisers are out, they're doing consistently the same thing for every property. They're valuing, they're taking a look at the condition of the home, they're taking into account the age of the home, they're taking into account everything that they see while they're out there and the information they gather from the homeowners if they're available. So that gives us our base cost. Well, when you have a sale and you have our base cost, and if we're below or above that, that's what determines whether or not we make a positive or a negative adjustment. If that base cost is high, we need to bring that cost down to where the market is. Now, most of the time, and I say most of the time because it's not always, but you'll have differences in 1-stories and 2-stories, even with single-family residences. But sometimes there isn't, and sometimes the percentage difference between the cost and what it sold for fits right in. Say we're 70% of what the market value is in our cost, and a 1-story is 71 or 72%. That's pretty close. Now, if you've got a 2-story that's at 70% and a 1-story that's at 30%, that's saying, hey, these probably shouldn't be in the same grouping. And so we narrow it down from there. Now, when you look at this, so we got apples to apples. We're grabbing and comparing your house to another apple, your apple to another apple. Well, this is doing more of a Fuji to Fuji. It's comparing it on an even deeper level. It's going, okay, we're going to take the sales and then we're going to adjust them to if they were your property. If this person that purchased this house was to pay for your house, what might they have paid given the difference in age, the year built, the effective age? And that's really what the main focus is on. That's why you'll see the dollar amount, because if you've done improvements, your effective age or age of your home is a whole lot newer than if you haven't done anything. It's going to be a whole lot closer to the year built. in its effective age if you haven't done anything to it. But if you've made improvements, if you fixed the roofing, if you re-roofed the house, if you put new windows in, if you've remodeled the inside, comparatively, it's going to be a newer home than when it was actually built. And so that's the difference there. And that's why we adjust based on that effective age, because we want to compare it to the improvements that have been done on the home. So as you go through here, all of these adjustments, and if they're in red, that's a negative adjustment. So what that's saying is this home had something that's more desirable than your home. So we've got to bring that price down that they paid to be in line. So this one, for instance, okay, had 114 waterfront footage. This one has 146. It's got more front footage. So we need to bring this paid cost down to account for that front footage. And that value is derived by the dollar per front foot. And so that's how we've come up with what that adjustment is. And that carries on as you go through. This one's effective age 2004. This one's a 2017. So we got to add value because effectively this is a newer home because of the updates. So now we've got to add value. And again, that's based on what is that adjustment doing in our cost basis? What adjustment is being made by the effective age? What are the years? What are the dollar per year? Okay. Another thing that makes a difference is your square footage, obviously. So you'll see again, 2275, 2541. We've got to bring this original base price down to match it up to this. Now again, this isn't what we used to set that market adjustment, but this helps back up our value. And that's why a lot of times when we run these, because on a mass scale, when we're making these adjustments, we're taking, depending on the pool that we have, 10, 15 sales, sometimes 1, 2 sales, and applying it to, in the 1, 2 sales, 5, 10 properties. In the 15, 20 sales that we get in some places, sometimes that's applied to hundreds of properties that fit that mold. But that's a mass scale. You're making everybody fit this mold. And so what this does is get us to okay, your home isn't necessarily exactly what the mold is, what all the sales are, because we'll have ranges in sales. You get cookie cutter neighborhoods where your square footages are all basically the same throughout. And in those situations, you've got a great comparable and it is already Fuji to Fuji, right? But that's not always the case. In fact, it's not a majority of the cases. And so that's why we add this, because it gives a dollar breakdown on each of these. Say they have an attached garage and some don't have an attached garage. Well, it accounts for that in the value. Okay, say they have a smaller one, like for instance, this one, smaller. So now we're bringing down again the price these people paid for this house to see what they may have paid for your house had they been looking at your house and adjusting. Now, we don't know because they didn't buy your house, but what we can base these values on and these adjustments on are the cost value. So we'll go, okay, so what's the cost difference between those to build and make that adjustment based on that? And so that's what all of these values are and why we've started adding those to our responses to try and get not only for our responses when it makes it to the hearings place, when we're actually hearing in front of the board, but a lot of times for our appraisers to see, okay, is this an outlier? Is this property, does it have something that doesn't fit this adjustment? Can we really support the adjustment that's made? And most of the time when we can't support it, and I would say 98% of the time, if we can't support it, we can support an adjustment. It just isn't as substantial as, and that's why when we do stipulated agreements or new recommended values based on what this is showing is, hey, we can see from this that no adjustment isn't correct. There should be an adjustment, but maybe not as extreme as it was. This is an outlier, doesn't fit that mold for the percentage adjustment that it was given, but it should have gotten an adjustment. And so this helps us fill that void of, okay, yeah, it shouldn't be up here, but it also shouldn't be way down here. it should be in here, and this helps us determine that on a different level. I would love to have the employee force to be able to do this for every property. The taxpayers would not love the cost it would take that they would have to pay in taxes to have this type of a thing done for every single property, every single year. That's just not feasible. And so we do this for appeal situations so that we can, and again, it requires an appeal. We can do this before they appeal, but we can't change the value because this is a reappraisal of the property. And so we can't change that value until they appeal. And so that's why you'll see a lot of times we have so many appeals come in, but only so many make it to an actual hearing, because once we can do this in that appeal, and we'll tell them, you need to appeal so we can put this in a grid because it doesn't fit the mold. We're looking at the sales prices and your value is much higher than the sales price. It's not fitting inside that mold. So let us do a sales comparison grid. Sometimes we find in the sales comparison grid, even though it is much higher value than the sales, it still is supported by our sales comparison grid. And so, yeah, we'll take it all the way to the hearing because we can still support our value because it has all of these different changes to those prices. And most of the time you'll see on those, there's going to be a whole lot less of these red and a whole lot more of the black because they have a whole lot better home than what sold. And so there's a whole lot of improvements to value that are taken into account in that direct sale to give us that average. And what we'll do is we'll take an average of our sales, and that's what this is it's taking all of these and doing an average of that to get us what the value should be. Now, you will see sometimes where we will run these, but we'll only take the newest sales, because if we can see a steady incline in the market, and this one is fairly standard across the board, you still have some sway back and forth, but a lot of times we'll see older sales and newer sales, and that sale price is climbing, showing that the market increased through those years. And so the most relevant to current market value is going to be the newer sales. Jerry?
That average, is that the average of, like, say, in this case, those three examples, or is that the average of, say, the grid you gave us of 10 sales?
No, it's the average of
Those
these
three?
values.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
These resultant values down here, and you can see in the total adjustments here, where we've got quite a bit of overall adjustments. Once everything's taken into account, what we like to see is minimal adjustments.
Right.
And so the most comparable in this is actually this one right here. And you can see our average is just under the most comparable sale in this. We could go, well, I mean, we could support that value with this market adjustment, but we're not going to go with that value. That's also, if you look at the dates, that's also the newest sale. That's the most current to market. Still didn't go with that value. We did an average for the three here for that gave us that value. And so that's what we attempt to do, to take it one step further than what we do on our typical mass appraisals using the sales. And so I hope that gives you a little bit better idea. Does anybody have any additional questions on that?
I do.
Okay.
And you're explaining it to us.
Mhm.
And now we have that information. Is it also explained to the taxpayer?
Yep.
Okay, so the taxpayer knows this.
If they
Not-
ask.
Yes, and
Yeah.
most of the
Personal
time,
responsibility.
we don't, when we send this out and we've got these adjustments, we don't know that to answer questions that haven't been asked. Right? Now, sadly enough, last year, and this year is going to be a little bit different. You, Caitlin, you're going to start seeing a whole lot of responses come out a whole lot earlier than we did last year. Even though
Just means we start hearing.
we've still run into, we're still backed up. We're still trying to play catch up. We've got a lot of things on our plates. But I'm going to try and have the appraisers get the responses out as quickly as possible to the taxpayers so there's time for them to respond with additional evidence. or any questions that they have. Yes.
Other than the
Yeah,
last
we'll
day.
sit, we'll walk them
Sit out and respond to the last day, and
Yep.
it's like, I'll see you at the hearing.
And sadly enough, I know it was taken as that was our intent to just wait till the last minute to send those out. It was most definitely not our intent. It was the situation that we were placed in, and I feel horribly about that. And we're more than happy, and that's why even in the past, we have not fought when somebody has something additional that they have that they would like to bring in. We haven't fought the no, we're not going to accept it. Now, we may have, and that'll even continue into this year, we may have a situation where somebody brings something, and if the board decides it's fine to present that, we may ask for additional time so we can take a look at the evidence because we haven't had it. But
I personally don't support them bringing it in to the meeting.
Law's law.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we've always approached it.
Right.
But we're very much, if people call in, even after the time, we'll continue to give them information and send them more information or an explanation of how, or set up a time to discuss how we did this or any of the other things that we did. Because our intent isn't just to jack up everybody's values and make them pay more taxes. That's not our intent. Our intent is to try and follow the law as best as we can and to.
It also says a lot of wrong.
Which is one of
It's
those.
a lot of wrong things.
To try and get to what we're supposed to be, what we're required to do. It is, I will honestly say, there are many flaws with the system, but I have yet to hear or have anybody present a better way to do things that still fits with our ability to do.
Well, in our legal requirement.
Yeah.
It's given to us.
And you're probably aware of one of our past members is now.
In fact, I reached out to him and let him know he had, something was mentioned by him about evidence, all evidence needing to be turned in by the 30th of December. And so I reached out to him and said, hey, I just want to help you out.
True, yeah.
Sending out false
It
information,
needs to be given within 21 business days of the date the hearing is set. And so I reached out and let him know just so he could help and I thanked him for being willing to help the taxpayers and taking his time. Because again, that's more than happy to help. Would love it if they called in to get the actual information from us, but I'm glad that people are out there helping.
Love it if they attended their hearings.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yep.
you know if other counties use the same method? They do?
And some may not have in their responses the sales comparison grid like this. It's only been in the last, I think, 2-3 years that we've done it pretty consistently. This has become a staple for our adjustments. And you'll see in this case, the appraiser put the land value, it made an adjustment for land value. And I know that was a comment that got brought up in one of the hearings this last year was, well, there's no adjustment for land. Most of the time, if the subject parcel has more land, that's only going to hurt the overall value in the adjustment. And so we don't put that in because if you've got more land, it's only going to add value to your property, which means there's going to be a positive adjustment across that in that land adjustment. And so we don't put it in because we can already support the value assessed without having that in there. Putting it in there is only going to show that we could actually
Do more.
have a value much higher. And you'll see, even when we come with these in the responses showing that we can actually support a higher value, we're not asking the board to sustain a higher value. We're asking the board to sustain the value that we have. Now, if this comes up and it's showing a lesser value, but it's still something that the taxpayer does not want to withdraw their appeal on, we'll go and we'll recommend this, even though that does take us off of that difference in that assess. We no longer have that ability to be presumed to be correct. We are still wanting to do what's right, not just hold to a value that we can't support.
And we see that. I mean, we understand that. I think, for the most part, I think that's given for us. You know, I mean, speaking personally, in my area, wait till you see the 1.2, 1.25, whatever he wants to sell it for, out there. And when I built my house for $250,000, you know?
And I know that
When you
there's.
see double wides going for 500 and 600,000,
And we try to take into account,
It's
we
crazy.
know in the beginning of this huge flux, when COVID hit and people were purchasing properties over here, leaving where they were, and spending, paying top dollar for homes. When that first started, we were discounting those sales because it wasn't the norm. Those were much higher than the norm. But then that became the norm,
Oh, yeah.
and that became the market,
Yeah.
and we couldn't discount those sales anymore. When they don't fit the mold, when they're much higher, we don't just go, okay, well, we like that it's higher and this allows us to increase the assessed value for the county, and so we're just gonna focus on that. We didn't do that, but once it became a regular thing and that became the market, yeah, I don't like it. I see it in my own assessments. I don't like it. However, it is the market and we have to follow the guidelines that we're given, so.
My area has been pretty stable, and then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of them sold, and they went. And one of them sold last May. It's on the market again. So we'll see how it goes. Fun and games.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing like fluctuations? Like in Grant County, I feel like the market's going down, but like around here, it's like staying the same.
In small pockets, we've seen where, okay, yeah, that they're starting to sell for just a little bit less. But it's like one sale here, it's very, we'll see properties on the market longer, and that's a good sign. Because that means eventually people are gonna be like, coming down. But you also, a lot of these people came in and they bought it really high and they don't wanna take a loss on it, and so what are they gonna do? I don't think that this market is sustainable, but I didn't think it was gonna last this long. Honestly, I did not. So
And more so.
I was basically one of the lowest last year in the whole state. And it was like, yeah, we're gonna have to do something. And we went from 74 to 80% on average. I think it's like 80 point something. And I'm fine with that.
It's not huge.
I'm still hedging my bets that it's gonna come down next year. I'd rather the market catch up to me than me go shooting up and then trying to dive down. And I've kind of been hedging for the last, since COVID. So, cause
It's market.
things aren't really growing. Other than, the Wenatchee market's so high that people are flooding into Quincy. Maybe bleeding over here to Ephrata a little bit, but we don't see the industries coming in. Things aren't growing that way. So it's like, okay, it's not sustainable.
On a side note, and we talked about it yesterday, but do either of you have any idea what's going on out there at behind the airport on Stratford, where Aspie owns all that land? And now they gravelled it and packed it and then put up an 8-foot fence for 2 miles that you can't see through?
No, I have.
You gotta drive out there, take Road 10, cut across, and then go in behind the airport where SGL is, and then, you go in behind the airport, there's Genie. You can't even see it anymore. It's a 8-foot solid steel fence. And that
We
whole,
were just at SGL, that wasn't up
Yeah.
there. That was a few months ago, but
They actually rolled it.
They rolled it
Yeah,
back,
they
they probably put
level.
a foot, maybe 2 feet of gravel on
Yeah.
2 miles by a half a mile.
You know where the,
I'll have to ask the board.
gravel pit is?
Mhm.
Okay, it's just down from there.
Really?
Well, they-
Truly City.
And they got all the gravel out of that Road 10 gravel pit
Yep.
that opened up on that farmer's
Yep.
land.
I saw,
They moved all that gravel.
in fact, I got a buddy that lives out there and I drove past, I was like, when did they do that? Cause I had seen
I was
that
just curious if
happening.
You guys knew, but
Yeah.
obviously you don't.
No,
So
Do
never
we have a
mind.
mining
Disregard.
permit for that?
It's,
That's the only question I had.
what was it?
Nope.
No, I don't think so. We're hoping that next year, will look a little bit different. Notices will go out more where we want them to be, not in December. Gradually, it'll be earlier in fall. Like to get it into the end of summer, where we can have that 30 days where we're not certified and not have to do the appeals. We can actually look at stuff. That's where we want to eventually get.
Is it all because of the new system?
Last year and this year was new system, and then we had some, a couple of retirements and someone leave that were in specific roles that were very strategic to getting this kind of stuff done. So that's kind of what,
a lot of shifting positions.
yeah, so you have to train up people, and that takes time, but we're getting our field modules in for our appraisers, which will help cut that inspection time down and help in the review time for us. And then we can actually look at some issues with conversions too that we're still ironing out. That was on our to-do list.
Anything that you would like to see or that we can help as far as our appraisers go when they're presenting? Any suggestions with the responses?
The only thing that I've seen, and Marge and I have talked about it at the time, is some of the maps, you can't see the actual piece of property that they're talking about, because it's outlined in a color that, I mean, we can't, I have trouble telling it, Marge has trouble telling it.
Okay,
So I don't, I mean,
And that's probably because of the photographs, you know, if
Yeah,
you're trying to
yeah,
recopy and
yeah.
sometimes the color gets kind of wonky.
okay.
I don't know what the answer is to that at all.
Maybe none,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, some.
So is it helpful? Because I know a lot of the appraisers are putting arrows for where the subject is.
Yeah, I mean, it would be helpful, obviously, but, you know, to require them to do that, I don't know if we can do that, so.
Well, that's a simple
But
thing
if it's
to
something that
have
helps
us,
you, we
and
can
and we're
have
not
that.
taking
That's-
it, we're,
You
We're-
knew I was gonna jump in,
Yep.
we're cautious,
Yep.
because we can't tell you guys
Yep.
what to do anymore, we can tell the
We
taxpayer.
can't.
And I'm-
We can't coach you, because
Yeah.
that's showing. that
and
we
I'm
tell you that at
asking,
16.
and the reason I ask that question is because I do understand that. And I ask the question because if we can do something that'll help you out, there's a good chance it's also gonna help the taxpayers out, which is our goal in what we do. And so if it's something that helps, maybe it's only 10, 15 of the appeals that it helped the taxpayer out. But that's worth it for us because that's one more thing. I mean, they understand, they know where their property is, right? But if you're sending something that just looks like a blur and you can't,
No, I don't know that it's a blur, I mean, it's.
Can I make a suggestion? Maybe we go back, and this, no disrespect to your predecessor, sirs.
Sirs.
Predecessors, but maybe we go back to putting the
And I
Up on the screen.
support that too, I mean.
I
that-
Put the
think-
parcel number, you know, with GIS, the GIS map, and just punch in the parcel. I used to do it for the hearings, and towards the end, and then Barb didn't do it, I mean, for whatever reason, doesn't have to happen. But that way you can actually see the area it's at, and what we're actually looking
It
at.
does help have it in a bigger
Bigger
context.
format.
Yeah, and that's a lot of it too, is getting it blown up to the amount, because most of the time,
Right.
to get it to the point where it's visible on the response, you have to narrow it down that now you can't see where the road is that it's on,
Right,
or the
right.
other
And then
sales,
we're printing it, we're
or,
sending it to her and
Yeah.
she's scanning it.
yeah. So we try and have it on there
Pixelates it.
broad enough that we can include any of the close sales to the subject, so you can get an idea of how, what the location of those things are. But that means that it's open enough that it's hard to see exactly where we're
Right.
talking about.
And I think the screen is a great idea. I mean,
I do
that's
too.
that's something.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I just, at the beginning of the hearing, I go right to it.
Well, like I've said in the
I've gotten
past,
hand slapped too many times from, what's his name over there?
well, there is a
Follow the
reason.
law.
There is a reason that I asked the question, because I do understand that it isn't something, and I don't ever take it as a requirement, but I do feel strongly about needing to hear those things so that I can make, it may or may not happen, but if I don't know about it, I can guarantee it won't happen. So, anytime there's something like that, that's one of the things. In fact, the reason why the sales comparison grid you saw more so this year than in the year past, was a suggestion. Hey, can we have this?
I remember you warning about that before.
So, and to me, that's great, because it's one more piece of information that's helpful, and I don't take it as a requirement. So, it, just as long as you understand that it may not show up, but we'll definitely do what we can, because again, the end goal is to make sure it's helpful information. A lot of the times when we send our responses out, we'll get quite a few that go, okay, well, I'm just gonna withdraw my appeal. Like, now I get it, now I understand. And
A
that's the goal, not to get them to withdraw, but so they can understand.
How it works.
And yeah, I don't like it either. However, this is what we have to do. And so that's really the goal. So, I appreciate hearing things like
As far
that.
as the appraisers presenting their side of things, I think they do a great case.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think they do a really good job. And if there is a rebuttal, they're pretty quick at having an answer back, so as far as their presentation, I think they do pretty good.
And I can honestly say, in the 7 years I did it, and now a year doing this, you've had an appraiser at every hearing. And I don't think
Yeah.
any county can say that other than this county. So hats off to you guys. I'd ask you to talk to your fellow assessors, I think that speaks out for you guys. Because there's no requirement for you to be here. I mean, you guys, no one has to be here. So hats off.
Well,
And that's
it's-
not siding with you or anything, that's just a credit to what you guys do.
And that's been something that, that Missy's always been 100% behind. And again, it flows back to, that's an opportunity, an additional opportunity. We're now at the end, we're now at the hearing, but it's an additional opportunity for us to have the chance to explain a little bit more what we do, why we do it. A lot of people just appeal and don't contact our office, don't come in. And so that may be our only opportunity to have that discussion and be able to explain why we did what we did, how we did what we did, and why we came to the result that we came to. So again, it falls under the same thing, and it's very important to me that the appraisers are there, and that they're able to answer those questions.
Well, and the presentations have been stellar.
Professional.
Yeah, very professional.
And they're short and to the point. I mean, they don't go on forever,
They're not gonna sit and argue with
No. Right,
Not to
right.
tell her to be in a
Matter of
rut or
fact.
anything like that, you get the angry. What
And
did you do? How come you did,
Well,
kind
and
of thing.
they even handled that pretty good, because I've seen them talk after the hearing, And one of your appraisers will say, well, come up to the office and we'll talk, or go out, you know, and then they have a one-on-one.
But we
So
still,
I-
you know, we still have some of those people. that
Yeah,
wanna-
I think
wanna point
they
fingers
make
and
it
say,
very
"Oh,
clear that they're willing to listen to them and talk, you know, try to make it so that they leave at least with a clarification of, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate hearing that. That's,
Well, it wasn't about you,
It
it was
is-
about the other guys.
that's why I said I appreciate hearing it. Because I'm not always able to be in here. I try and be here for a couple of hearings for each of the appraisers. So that I jot down notes and questions I have, or I would have had I been the taxpayer, to help them better do their job, and be prepared. We appreciate having a board that actually does review the information that's presented. I have been here when I know full well it hasn't been, and so that's been to speak to your point, Marge, about being straight to the point and concise about the information. We don't spend a lot of time anymore. We used to read word for word the response that we sent in, because we knew that the information
New.
hadn't gotten read
Right. Oh, yeah. I
and
mean-
reviewed. And so,
You gotta read the parcel number, the address.
Yeah. And
It's all
that's,
there.
that's not necessary. And so it's helped, I personally think, in sitting and watching the appraisers, it's helped them open up and have a conversation rather than just be structured in needing to read everything and get to the end. And
You can see the nerves kind of go away, yeah.
because that's really what we want, you know, that we send it to the taxpayer and hope that they've had a chance to review and taken that chance, and to the board. And then it's just, okay, here's the main points. Here's what drove our decision. Here's where we landed. And this is our value.
Yeah.
So.
If there's anything that we can do to, you know, make it easier for the board or the taxpayer, that will, you know, we always look at that. We're respectful of your time, we're respectful of their time, because it's also respectful of our time. And we do have a lot of work to do, so.
Well, Jerry made a suggestion, and we're gonna try it this year, shotgun approach. See whether or not we can
Doing some bulk hearings, kind of a
Schedule.
court hearing
schedule.
Schedule.
Oh,
10 or 20.
I,
in a 1 hour
and-
period, and whoever
If
here
you're
shows
here,
up,
we'll go.
see if we can punch, and I know you guys have talked about it, so.
My thought on it was, I mean, I know that we still wanna keep it to be one or two
Right.
appraisers at the most, really in one day. So I was thinking we'd have like the structured hearings in the morning, where it's like your hearing is at this time and then whatever. And then in the afternoons, have that shotgun approach, so that way when you guys are done, you're just done and you don't have to wait around for. the
Once again, even
afternoon.
that 1 hour period, you could schedule, you know, the 10 for that period, all with Clayton or all with whoever, you know, not using any names, but, you know, just trying something to see, you know, because, yeah, I mean, we schedule these hearings and we all sit here for half the day.
Yeah,
So,
when you have to wait an hour and 20 minutes for the next one,
and hope they show.
and hope they
And
show.
possibly not.
And
Your time's valuable, our time's
it
valuable.
kind of put the pressure on Barb last year, and frustrated the hell out of her, because she would call those people the morning of, and that doesn't work either, because they don't call back, or they don't answer, or whatever.
Yeah, you do that.
So, I
10%
mean-
return rate.
We're not gonna do that. She's not gonna do that. We're just gonna go. And
Personal responsibility.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
file a petition, show up at your hearing.
We've updated the hearing notice, so it's very clear, like, they've got their hearing date and time, and the due date for their supplemental documents, and then immediately after that is that we're requesting a confirmation of attendance, and if you don't confirm attendance, then your hearing might be moved subject to the needs of the board. We've got it bold, underlined, flashing colors, bright light, pop-up ads, whatever, so,
We got a good clerk now, so.
see.
well, yeah, it's,
I know.
we don't wanna,
Well, last year
have
was
you
the
sitting
beginning.
around.
We're building on it.
was talking for the last 7 years.
Yeah, you gotta fix all those.
All right,
Anything else?
I don't think so. All right.
thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming here.
Rosa.
Well, yeah, Merry Christmas.
I know, see you.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'll see you before, but.
Merry Christmas.
Giant boss right behind you. All right, guys, now we can talk about it.
Here we go.
Policies and bylaws are next.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got them updated now, so Marge is no longer listed as the vice chair.
Okay.
The one thing, when I was scanning through it to update it, is that there is still a section in here that talks about compensation for review of, hearing materials. And so I definitely just put members may receive payment for time spent reviewing hearing materials. And then that way you guys can sign it. It's not committing the board to pay you if they don't want to do it, but it's in there so that way if they do approve it, it's already taken care of.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Go ahead, tell me, what's your thoughts?
If I'm required to review, I need to be compensated.
I don't disagree with it. I think
It's just like any job that you work from home.
And
If
I apologize for interrupting, I'm so sorry.
And I know we can go back, they can easily go back and say, well, all those years before, well, we're not there anymore,
No,
you know?
we're moving
Doesn't
forward.
matter what that idiot that was the clerk did, you know?
And the only reason why I shouldn't say the only reason, one of the driving reasons is that when these were signed last year with that in there saying that you guys would be paid for it, there was some concern from the commissioners that this was approved by you guys to receive payment without actually
Right,
getting
I remember that,
confirmation.
yeah.
Yes. So I've changed that now, so it is not a binding, like you guys are gonna get paid just because that was a concern from last year. So I felt that this route was the best
Safe.
mediation,
Yeah.
but I will bring it to them.
Do you think it would be beneficial to schedule a meeting, to have Jim come talk to him? And discuss why we recommend this?
You could, I was thinking about
We
just,
had that one of those.
Well,
meetings.
that was a while ago, I mean, there was other
Well,
issues with that too.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I was thinking about just, sticking it on consent and let them hash it out, and then if they hold it for a week, then I'll call Jim
Well,
and say, do you
you
wanna
could
come
even
in
say, hey,
and talk
the-
or whatever?
BOE is open, the chair will come down at any time. Except Fridays, he's busy on
Or the
Fridays.
vice chair.
You're the vice chair. So I'll do,
Trying to let the waters calm for another year.
and I'll probably do
Can I
two
use your
separate
pen?
requests, the one for the compensation for review time, and then a separate one for the change in the hourly rate, so that way you guys, they can,
And once again, after, getting our hands slapped last year, do we wanna sit and talk to them before we just send them a letter saying, hey, let's change our rate? I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud.
Valid point, though.
Or do we just wait for Commissioner Thorson? I was surprised you didn't flip me off on that one.
these meetings are being recorded and will be posted at a later date.
Oh, I forgot this on the record, I apologize. Or still, one of the two, I'm not sure.
I have one thing that is not on the agenda, just because I figured it out this morning. The notice of approval to hear property tax appeals that goes to the Board of Commissioners, right? We're officially at that point, we're past,
Outside of our 28-day period,
oh, it has to be outside the 20 day period. that we-
because we can hear anything, right? During our 28-day period, we can hear any hearings.
Oh,
You don't
okay.
have any that are scheduled.
I see, that's.
You know, because it's during the 30-day, open set, so yeah. Because some counties, Ferry County, I believe it's Ferry County, actually would hear, during their 28-day period, their 3 meetings, they would actually hear their 2 or 3 appeals.
Oh, wow.
Well, we only have 2 or 3 appeals. So yes,
So. Okay, wait, so I know that there's that limit of 10% of last year or 25.
that's when you have to
whichever's more.
schedule hearings.
That's when I have to start scheduling hearings.
Yep, when you have 10% of last year's in file on petitions or 25.
Okay, so we were definitely past that.
So you,
Whoops, I did,
so you need to start scheduling.
okay,
Nobody's gonna throw you in jail for it. I've never even been in question, did you schedule within 30 days? But that's the law.
okay.
Well, if you do get thrown in jail, it's just right
Yeah, we'll go
across.
visit.
If I wait long enough.
You'll be in the new jail.
Yeah, I'll be in the new one. That one's pretty nice.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so then I'll work on scheduling stuff then. We're looking at
But
scheduling stuff.
make sure we do have that one memorandum and it's an actual form that the commissioner signs saying we can actually, I forget what it's actually called. Basically, we can do business outside the 28 days.
Yes, that is this notice. So
Okay,
that's what
that's the one they have to sign,
Do I
and 'cause
have-
we can't do anything until they do that, outside of the 28 days.
so is it fine to have them sign it next week, even though?
Oh,
we're
yeah.
still- Okay, okay,
We
great,
just can't do anything until they do sign it.
got it, okay, cool. So that will be on consent next week, because I put it there.
Yeah.
But, and they'll hopefully sign that, I don't see why they wouldn't. And then I'll look at starting to schedule stuff.
So what are they gonna do with this jail over here?
Let's finish the meeting and I'll tell you. We time to make up something. I've heard they're gonna move courts into there ultimately. It's gonna be courtrooms, yeah. But now I've heard, yeah, maybe.
No official decision has been made.
Okay, so you're gonna start scheduling, and I think we talked about it yesterday. We don't wanna do the heavy ones right at the very beginning. I mean,
Give us a day or two to
second
get
or
back
third,
into the
yeah.
routine.
Yep.
Help you get into a routine. Cause yeah, once you start scheduling, you wanna have it set up. You know, you saw Barb last year, so you got time to do the orders, schedule the next one to scan everything, to do the orders, to scan everything. It's, once you started, it's a boom, 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 so.
Yep.
Unless you have a better way, which is entirely possible.
I don't know.
I'm sure you and Laserfish will figure it out.
Yeah, I
though.
gotta do it a couple times and then I'll stew about some different way and then I might or might not, I don't know.
You will. You'll find a better way to do it. Okay, so additional meetings?
Did you guys want to need any additional meetings prior to having hearings?
I can't think of a reason.
I mean,
I mean,
if we had new members, I would recommend it.
I keep being told I'm abusing the travel pay, so no.
Who's telling you that, Barb? Oh.
I didn't say anything. Okay.
You did though.
Well, yeah, but you come here via Ritzville. I mean, that's.
And the problem with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think we need any additional meetings.
Perfect.
Okay.
When did our 28-day session actually begin?
December. December 3rd. At 9 a.m.
1, 3, 4. So we go to the December 31st, basically.
And I know it's been said a few times March. Is that when you guys wanna start?
You know, if you wanna get stuff started earlier than that, are you okay with mid-February or something?
As long as it doesn't snow.
Well, and you gotta start factoring in the 21 business days, you know, because you're not gonna wanna start even talking until after the holidays.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's 21 business days, you're already to the end of January before you're potentially could even schedule your first hearing. Because it's basically 30 days, it's 21 business days, give or take how many holidays you have. So
I'm
then,
good with March,
yeah,
are you?
so now, you know, if you worked in, started middle February, late February, you know, that's. Do a couple
Yeah,
and
if the weather's bad, I could stop
True.
the house too, so.
Well, if it continues like this, it's like spring, a spring day today instead of winter, you know, it's weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
make
they're
sure you
having
schedule stuff when it doesn't snow.
Landslides
Yeah.
on Stevens, landslides on Stevens,
Yeah.
Snoqualmie. So Snoqualmie this morning.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh,
North
have you
Bend.
seen pictures?
Yeah.
50-mile span of two is
All the
closed.
mudslides.
I don't have to assess that.
And then Chelan too, there's like trees that,
Yeah.
fell
Yeah.
over.
I'm staying home this weekend. It's dangerous out there. Trees fall.
Mhm. Anywhere.
I always think about that when I'm going down a road that has trees real close to the,
I
and
know
they're,
you-
they're really
Over,
tall.
hanging,
Yeah,
leaning.
yeah.
So. Anyway.
Anything else? Think you're doing a bang up job?
Well, we haven't really truly started yet,
No,
so.
No, but you've got.
You already learned from Mark's mistakes, so you can already see that.
Just got
Anything else?
I think Caitlin will do a great job. Keep us
She's doing great.
in the right direction.
I just wanna say, everybody's safe and happy holiday.
For sure.
Yeah, you too. Merry Christmas,
are-
Happy New Year.
We are not moving to adjourn, so.
Moving to adjourn.
Bye.
Oh, okay.
Chair, close the meeting.
Chair, yes, Mr. Chair, would you like to adjourn the meeting?
I second.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.